We may hate tests as human beings, but superheroes love them as long as it's related to their powers. But how awesome can such a moment even be? Well, the TV Regent is here to explore that today with the top 20 power testing scenes in superhero movies. I know I mentioned the Fantastic 3 as the header of this entry, but it's actually true because we don't get to see Mr. Fantastic test out his own powers properly. He's more of a mentor and guide for his fellow teammates, although that does lead to some hilarious moments. Seeing Johnny Blaze almost hit supernova during a power testing scene was badass, and it makes you wonder how someone like Pyro could best him if he actually had the ability to take down the planet with his flames. I love the part where he said he could go hotter.
Okay, Johnny, back it down.
I can go hotter!
Because that kind of turned out to be true in the real world as well. After all, bro went on to become Captain America. Speaking of which, I bet Nick Fury's mind would have been blown away if he knew Steve Rogers could have gotten out of the ice anytime he wanted. Yeah, the Human Torch sequence was freaking bonkers, but the part with the Thing was probably the funniest. I couldn't stop laughing when bro said he used to smoke when Reed Richards was shocked by his internal anatomy. I can assure you, buddy, cigarettes were not on his mind while checking out your stone organs. I also got to mention the little passive-aggressive moment between Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. Yeah, Susan Storm can hit temperatures way higher than her brother without even needing to use any fire powers. For Jessica Alba, the flame is always on. Being Spider-Man's no easy task, and I'm not just talking about beating up villains or saving innocent lives. Peter Parker has to deal with a changing body and controlling how he shoots a white liquid from it as well. While a typical adolescent wouldn't think much of it, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has to make sure he has full control over his abilities. Otherwise, he won't be able to become the hero Uncle Ben would have wanted. Andrew Garfield was the perfect candidate to showcase this process, as can be seen in this scene where he focuses more on the agility and acrobatics rather than the superhuman powers. That jump down the building was an epic shot, and they managed to choreograph the goofy landing perfectly. Even the hardcore training sessions afterwards proved why Peter Parker is a diligent hero. The main reason why this scene works is because the character's reactions to his power seems realistic and makes sense. It's not too exaggerated or stylized for the sake of being grand. If only bro could have used his training to save his girlfriend rather than cracking her back. Yeah, it's been a while since I cracked that joke.
Oh my god. Oh dude, you're bleeding,
Oh man,
you're bleeding.
shit. Stop.
Get a tissue. You did it!
Michael B. Jordan is mostly known for his roles as Killmonger in Black Panther or Adonis Creed from the Rocky sequel franchise Creed. However, the dude was into acting long before that, and one such project of his happened to be 2012's Chronicle, which was a surprise hit at the box office. It's an interesting premise of how three high school buddies come across some new superpowers and slowly succumb to the dark side due to their newfound superiority. The scene in question is when the group tries out their powers in various ways. From trying to stop a baseball to moving a freaking car all on your own, there's a lot to take home from this sequence. What's even better is the fact that all of this is presented in the found footage format. That not only makes the experience raw, but it also makes the powers look more realistic. I gotta say, these buggers weren't exactly the ideal candidates to be given such power, but at least they knew how to have fun with it. I got super excited when they said a sequel to this film was in development, but when I learned that they were going the typical bait and switch Hollywood model, I think it's better to keep the story limited to just this one film.
I can't hear you over that. Oh, dude, you know.
You're recording.
For research purposes.
I just mentioned Killmonger in the previous entry, so I thought I'd follow up with someone from his family. When you're the only trillionaire in the comic book universe, you do have a certain reputation to protect, don't you? That's exactly why T'Challa was being so conscious of Shuri recording him when he was testing out his new Black Panther suit. She's the type to be rebellious, so Big Bro had to make sure he tested out her creations with meticulous care, although that doesn't end up happening. It's a wholesome moment with T'Challa flexing his combat skills at first, only to be violated later with his own kinetic energy. The delete that footage line will never not be funny, and it became a meme template almost instantly.
Delete that footage.
What I do like the most though is the costume design. That Black Panther suit was crisp AF. No wonder the King of Wakanda almost immediately went for it despite other options being right next to it. While the key moment was the kick, I do want to mention that Shuri's initial brief regarding the suit's specs also count, because she's giving us an idea of what T'Challa's latest weapon is capable of. You know what? I still find it hard to believe that Chadwick Boseman was suffering from colon cancer at the time of making this film. That fact in itself makes this movie that much more admirable.
Show off.
Oh yeah, it's time for a scene from the greatest movie of the world and the highest grossing film with a total collection of $10 billion more. Okay, jokes and memes aside, this has always been my favourite part of the movie. Here we see Morbius testing his powers, its limits and strengths. Not just that, he also understands the dangerous side effects, which leads him to understand as to why this supposed cure isn't what he hoped for. Seeing him struggle without the blood also presented him as a volatile man who was by no means indestructible. Pretty solid scene overall from a writer's perspective, but you know what was missing from this whole sequence? It was his iconic line, "It's Morbin time."
It's Morbin time.
But yeah, the training and research on display did give an added layer to the character and also gave us a nice shot of Bro with the bats. At one point, I was wondering if I was actually watching one of the Nolan Batman movies, but then I realized that nothing could even compare to the greatness of Morbius. On a serious note though, Jared Leto really needs to fire his agent and come up with a new role that won't let his talents go to waste.
Car. Big Larry. Hero.
Imagine coming to hero school to check out your powers only to learn that the coach assessing you is none other than Bruce Campbell, aka Ash, from Sam Raimi's Evil Dead franchise.
You. What's your name?
This sequence was so typical that it felt as if they were doing a live-action rendition of some anime show. The funny thing is that Sky High's hero power assessment scene draws instant parallels to My Hero Academia, but the anime was only released in 2016 and the manga in 2014. Anyway, this was an entertaining sequence as we got to see all kinds of powers from the kids, and while some of them were impressive, I do feel bad for the others.
Sidekick. Acid spin. Hero!
Imagine attending a superhero school where some students have OP powers like pyrokinesis and super strength, but your power is turning into a ball or guinea pig. Yeah, that's really tough.
A guinea pig?
Yep.
But it's just like the movie tells us, if life were to suddenly get fair, I doubt it would happen in high school. The kid who turned into the stone beast was the coolest of the lot according to me, but watching this made me wonder something. If your superpower is what gets you in, then what would Coach Boomer do with guys like Batman or Iron Man? Shazam blew everyone away with its performance as a film and in general at the box office. Nobody was rooting for this movie and it still managed to exceed expectations, which is kind of like the opposite of most of the other DCEU projects. Now, when it comes to testing out his powers, let's say Shazam made the wisest move of all by recording them so that he could upload his legit power displays to YouTube and become famous. I can see that Shazam's picked up a thing or two from my own YouTube channel, of course, so kudos to him. In all seriousness though, it was a delight to watch this scene. Zachary Levi plays his character so well, which is basically a kid trapped in an overpowered superhero's body. The little gag with the lightning coming out of his eyes when they were checking if you could fire lasers was the best moment to me, but everything about this sequence has my approval. Plus, it kind of made me wish I'd at least gotten his ability to charge cell phones within mere seconds. Hey, now that I think about it, Shazam could have turned that into a business idea as well.
I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball.
First one. It's the second one. Yeah, it's the second one on the move.
M. Night Shyamalan is the living example of a hit-and-miss director. The man has given us some classics, but has also taken an L on some others. 2000's Unbreakable was definitely one of his better offerings, as it offered a completely different take on the superhero genre. This was 8 years before the first Iron Man movie, so it baffles me to see how sharp the director's mind was to give us such a unique story.
What do you...
Now, the power testing scene here isn't exactly what you expect to see from Bruce Willis's character David Dunn. He's known for his superhuman strength and endurance, but in this case, he's using his powers to sense crimes from those who come in contact with him. It's a great scene which presents the reality of the world in a rather somber fashion. It was exhilarating and shocking to watch at the same time, because some of those sins were just like WTF. What hurts the most is that David had to decide which one of those 4 crimes was the worst. Each one of them was horrible, but he can't help everybody at once. After all, he's still a man, not a god.
Go back to Africa!
We all know that Ezra Miller isn't exactly a model citizen, but seeing the younger version of Barry Allen in The Flash really made me wonder if they actually let the actor be in his natural form during the scene. Bro was a total menace and a bit weird too, especially with the Speedy Gonzales pose. I can't really blame him that much though, because he did just realize that he had the power of super speed.
Wait. I have powers now?
It's actually pretty close to what I imagine it would be like if any teenager really did get those kind of powers. They'd just go bananas and do everything they can think of to test them out all at once before even getting a grip on them. The power testing that follows doesn't go as planned, and we get to see a lot of mishaps, but the most notable one was that Flash almost did to that poor lady what a train did to Huey's first girlfriend.
Hey, I'm leaving!
Bro really needs to calm down when he's running on the road with fire all over his clothes. Yes, I know it's supposed to be funny or whatever, but let me just say that the DCEU pretty much dug their own grave when they tried to emulate what the MCU had so perfectly accomplished in their pre-Endgame era.
Holy speedballs.
It's difficult to see Vin Diesel anymore without thinking of the Fast and Furious franchise. I mean, family. The fact that his character Ray is wearing a vest in this scene only furthers that statement, because it's pretty much a costume for Dom Toretto at this point. Having said that, 2020's Bloodshot gave us a brilliant scene with Ray testing out his new strength in the gym. Tearing through the punching bag was definitely badass, but let me get this straight. Dude found out he's got superpowers, didn't know the extent of it, then immediately went for the support beam of the room. I know you're excited, Ray, but if you took that beam down, then you probably wouldn't have had the chance to test out the rest of your powers. Like, even Mike Tyson knew when to stop his punches. He'd just go for the ears instead. Anyway, the weightlifting session that followed was also cool to watch because Ray's already ripped like a beast. To see such ridiculous strength on top of that totally enhanced the impact. We're halfway through and into the top 10, so it's time for a trip down nostalgia lane. The chase scene in the OG Spider-Man movie may not be the first time Peter Parker has tested his powers, but the focus is actually on his web-swinging skills, so it definitely counts for this list. Plus, there's no way I'm not going to include this moment. It's the best. We've seen Peter Parker clown around before, but this time it's different. His uncle just died, and the man who did it is currently getting away. I love that all Spidey knows is that he has to catch this guy, so he forces himself to push through his fear and lack of practice to get the job done. The part where he swings, then in real time throws the other web to create the counter swing is so awesome because of the emotional weight behind it. This scene alone is another good reason why Sam Raimi's version of Spider-Man is top tier. The moment Peter allowed himself to be selfish instantly resulted in his uncle's death.
He's got my money! Thanks. What the hell's the matter with you? You let him go!
That's when the quote, "with great power comes great responsibility," hits him like a wrecking ball, and not in a Miley Cyrus kind of way.
Wolverine.
This man never fails to shock us, does he? Deadpool has made quite the name for himself with his fourth wall breaks and unorthodox methods, but this power testing scene is just on a whole other level. Bro tried each and every method in the box to see if his regeneration skills could actually keep him alive. Much to his surprise, he did survive all of them, although Wade definitely would have preferred if his powers failed him for once. We actually forgot how sad this scene is because of Wade's humor. We're essentially watching a depressed yet near mortal man trying to end his life, but he still manages to get a few giggles out of it. I mean, seriously, Captain Delicious Pants? You could say that at my own grandma's funeral and I'd still laugh. Sorry, Mimo, I still love you. On a serious note though, I don't know what goes on in Ryan Reynolds' head when he does these scenes, but I'm really thankful for his casting in this role. I can't imagine that character being played by anyone else, even if he was the best actor in the world.
What's your name?
Captain Delicious Pants.
Who's Captain Delicious Pants?
He won't. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Animation has been a crucial part of the world of cinema, rightly so. The old Disney classics and Japan's endless supply of anime have dominated the world for decades on end, but then Sony decided to switch things up a bit with the Spider-Verse, and oh boy did they nail it or what. Miles Morales became an instant hit with the audience, and his transitioning into the new Spider-Man was a scene worth its weight in gold. What I love most about this sequence is that it's not all about web slinging like we've seen before with the other Spider-Man movies. It's a lot of running and parkour, which he says earlier that he's better at. He's taking the iconic Spider-Man moves and applying them to his own style, not the other way around. It makes for an iconic moment and perfectly fits the ideal of the new Spidey taking over from Peter Parker. The entire theatre was silent for most of this film, especially after witnessing Peter's demise, but this literal leap of faith changed the whole vibe.
Made them myself. They fit perfectly.
Imagine trying out a suit that makes you as small as a literal ant. That's freaking terrifying. Like, you could get stomped on or eaten by a rodent. That's exactly what Scott Lang had to go through when he first put on the suit, and oh boy was it a roller coaster or what. A bathtub, a rave, a vacuum cleaner, a predatory rat, and then the top of Garrett Morris's car. Bro already lived his life more than the average human in the span of 4 minutes. The whole concept of looking at things from an ant's perspective and applying cinema tools like camera movement, slow-mo, shallow and deep focus mixed with CGI to bring about a superhero action film is one that excited me in a different way. I mean, look at that shot when he transforms for the first time. I just absolutely love how we go from casually viewing things like the drain hole, plug and curtains to now looking at them forming this huge gigantic surrounding that's almost belittling Ant-Man. It truly was a unique experience.
What happens if I throw up in this helmet?
It's my helmet, Scott. Do not throw up.
Oh, and here's some trivia for you if you're a film nerd. Garrett Morris is the first actor to have played Ant-Man in a live-action version. His cameo makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it?
Where's the car?
No car, we've got wings. Incoming.
Peak MCU really made us love all kinds of professions. I used to hate the Doctor while growing up as a kid, but now I'm the most regular checkup patient he has, although I'm pretty sure he's going to transfer himself far away from me soon. Anyway, Doctor Strange's first experience with the Eye of Agamotto was a subtle yet effective way for him to test out his powers of time manipulation. Bro really kept going at that apple as if it was his sworn enemy, but if the famous saying is anything to go by, he was up against his arch nemesis. It was a pretty cool sequence to watch, but Stephen Strange really messed up when he got caught by Wong and Mordo. I also like the foreshadowing bit where Mordo asked Strange if he wanted to get stuck living the same moment again and again. That literally became his ultimate weapon against Dormammu later in the film. But on a serious note, if you pay enough attention to what Mordo is saying here, it actually serves as the perfect base for the multiverse saga. Sadly, this was back when the MCU used to be clever.
Oh my.
Superman is famous for a whole bunch of powers, but the most synonymous image we have of him is the one of flight. The man has way too many posters and creatives in his iconic flying pose, so when we got around to Man of Steel, we were all waiting for that particular shot. Now, it did take a long time for the film to actually get to the point. Once it did, oh boy was it worth the wait. To have Kal-El understand his flying powers only after coming to terms with his own origin was a great move by Zack Snyder, and the following sequence where he transitions from high jumps to actual flight was a masterclass in payoffs. His facial expressions while flying are priceless. It's as if he's a child who's finally getting to do something that he's always wanted to do. Also, to have him break the sound barrier during the same sequence was a great way to cement his authority as the strongest being on Earth. If turning your body from pre-Captain America Steve Rogers to super soldier form was a business, the owner would probably have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos doing his dishes. I mean, every man on the planet would be his customer. The way Steve Rogers chases after the Hydra spy right after his transformation was a great method to showcase his resolve. Going after the spy while being unfamiliar with and unsure of his body could have turned into a nightmare, especially when he gained too much momentum and crashed through the store window. But hey, bro came through by literally ripping the spy out of a freaking submarine type vehicle. Oh yeah, Peggy touching his pecs was cool too. I wonder if there's a particular reason why she was given that name.
Become an idea!
It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire when you're dealing with the League of Shadows. Bruce Wayne was well aware of that fact, which is why he was able to ace his test with such grace. Now, I know that Batman is a human being, so he technically doesn't have any superpowers to test.
What's necessary, my friend?
But I'd say his mental grit and spatial awareness were both on trial here, and that's a pretty handy skill to have for anyone. Beating Ra's al Ghul is no joke, and yet Bruce Wayne did it with calm and grace.
You cannot leave any sign. I haven't.
All of this is very nice and all, but I can't pass true judgment till I've seen Paul Allen's combat skills too.
Yeah, I can fly. Jarvis, you there?
At your service, sir.
Yes, we're back to the moment that started it all back in 2008. Just like Bruce Wayne, Tony Stark too is a human being, but he's far from normal. And his Iron Man suit definitely has the tech equivalent of superpowers. The test runs he conducts for his flight features were great, as they not only gave us the first ever glimpse of MCU's best character, but also some amazing CGI. Of course, it's goofy as well, which is kind of like a brand image thing for Iron Man at this point. I love how Stark's the kind of man who gives sentience to a fire extinguisher. That bit in the end after he crashes through multiple floors is what did it for me.
This is a flight stabilizer. It's completely harmless.
I didn't expect that.
Tally-ho.
Nothing will ever beat Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man learning of his new powers and testing them out almost immediately. This was a legendary moment that's not been replicated since, and rightly so. Peter Parker is such a well-written character that you always find yourself rooting for him regardless of the situation. Whether he's climbing up the wall to give us an iconic meme template, jumping across buildings, or shooting webs in a way that Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland can't. All of Spidey's actions here come together to give us a scene that redefined the idea of a superhero movie. That too, 6 years before the MCU was even a thing. I can still hear that music from this scene in my head after more than 22 years since its release. So so that in itself is a testament to his longevity. Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the TB Regent, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.